Hello, my musical friends, and welcome. Today we're going to be discussing tuning your violin or viola. But first, if you're new here, my name is Deanna, and I'm a professional violinist and violist. I guide aspiring violinists and violists to learn, develop, and achieve their musical goals. So if that sounds interesting to you, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos as they come out. It's so important to start with a well-tuned instrument. Regardless if you are a professional who has been playing for 20 or 30 years, or you are a new beginner. In fact, it is so crucial as a beginner that you make sure that your instrument is tuned well because you need to develop your ear. You are working to build your pitch memory and build your intonation, and this is really hard to do if your instrument is out of tune. In fact, you'll be practicing the wrong pitches. You won't be building the correct pitch memory, and you won't be building a solid intonation. These instruments are made of wood, so it's very sensitive to fluctuations of temperature and humidity.
Hi, Editing Deanna here. I just want to also specify that we need to understand exactly what pitches we're tuning to. On the violin, our highest string is E, then we have A, D, and G. And I'm playing them on the piano, but those notes in the correct octaves would be E5, A4, D4, G3. And you can hear them in the background here. You can also tune to the piano here if you have a piano that has been tuned recently. And I also want to clarify that if you are tuning a viola, the notes that you would be tuning to are starting with A, D, G, C, so A5, A4, D4, G3, C2.
It's important to readjust it, to set the strings to the correct pitches every single time you go to play. But as a beginner, this can be a really tricky and nerve-wracking thing to do. So we're going to talk about how to safely and effectively tune your instrument today. So let's talk about what we need to tune. First of all, I'm going to recommend a tuning app for any beginners. The tuning app is great because when you are just learning, you don't know exactly where the pitches should go. And a tuning app is an ultra precise way to make sure that you're aiming for the right place with the pitches. My favorite tuning app is called Tonal Energy. It's available on iPhones, iPads, but also Android devices. Really easy to use. It's got some extra bells and whistles that are not absolutely necessary in the beginning, but I think that those tools become useful shortly after. I just totally think it's worth it. Hashtag not sponsored. They don't sponsor me. I just love the app so much. I find it so useful. There's so many amazing things in there. I recommend this app, and I really wish they would sponsor me. Tonal Energy, if you're listening, I'm here. You can find me. Okay, so let's talk now about how we tune the instrument. We use these little screws down here. These screws are called fine tuners. We also use these here. These are pegs. We have 4 of these, and as you can see, I have just one fine tuner on my violin. Most advanced instruments will generally have just the one fine tuner, but I recommend if you are just starting out to invest in a tailpiece, this part of the instrument here, that has 4 fine tuners on it, or to invest in additional fine tuners that can be installed on your tailpiece. If you don't know what I'm talking about or where to find them, contact your local luthier. A luthier is a person who repairs string instruments or also builds them herself or himself. Find your local luthier and they can guide you through the process. Get 4 fine tuners on your strings to make life easier for yourself. Larger changes of pitch are going to be done with the pegs that we have here. And the pegs are a little more finicky to use than the fine tuners, meaning they're a little bit more difficult to tune, and I think they can be a little bit dangerous. I have known many students who rushed into tuning without guidance and ended up popping strings. And that's a very expensive mistake to make. So let's talk about using the pegs. The pegs that we see here, these are actually not cylindrical in shape. They are conical in shape. Conical, not cylindrical. So that means that they are actually tapered towards the ends. They are thinner at the ends here than they are here. So as you turn the peg, it is crucial to turn them while pressing inward with some weight towards the peg box. Because if you don't do that, the peg will actually slide away. So always adding some weight in. The other thing with the pegs is that you must go slowly. You have to go slow. If you go too fast, I guarantee you will pop strings. So when I'm talking about slowly, this is the tempo that I'm talking about. Because with pegs, a small movement can mean a big change in pitch. Often, we're not looking for really huge changes of pitch, so go slowly to give the string time to adjust and to be able to listen for that correct pitch. You'll go slowly as you apply pressure inward. Let's actually get into the meat of tuning. So we'll start by setting a tuner in front of you, and I've got one directly in front of me. I want to give another crucial bit of information. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. I want you to remember this for the rest of your violin or viola life. Meaning that if I turn any screw on the instrument to the left, I am lowering the pitch, or I am loosening that, perhaps the bow hair, if I'm turning this tension screw to the left. If I'm turning a screw to the right, I am raising the pitch. For instance, here, if I start turning my fine tuner here to the right, I am raising the pitch. If I start turning my screw here to the right, I am tightening my bow hair. Really important. So now we're ready to start tuning. I'm going to start off by doing an overview of where the strings are. So I want to just play all 4 open strings. Okay, so very out of tune. And I wanted to make sure that it was really out of tune so that we could have a good opportunity to tune all the strings. And I'm going to check with the tuner, but I already know this is very high. This is not where the E string should be. Let's see how many cents high. Okay, so my E string is about 11 cents high. So let me go ahead and use that fine tuner, and remember lefty loosey. So I'm going to turn it to the left. Until I get exactly the pitch that I want. So now I've got my E string tuned. Let's check the A. The A, as we remember, was also out of tune. I believe it was a bit flat. It is flat. So now I'm going to check with my tuner to see how flat is that string. It's about 24 cents flat. So here I want to use the peg to tune it. I generally say around 24 cents and above that I like to go ahead and use the pegs to tune instead of just the fine tuners. So what I would do is place the violin against myself, or if I was sitting, then I would place the violin on my leg to tune. I'm actually standing, so I'm going to place the violin against me at a diagonal angle, and then so that I can press. I'm going to do that And I want you to see my hand shape. See my hand shape here as I tune. I press the instrument against myself and I take my right hand onto, if I was tuning the E or the A string, then I'd be on this side with my right hand. And then I take the other hand, my left hand, and I have the thumb above the string so that I can pluck the strings while I'm tuning. Again, so important that we're always listening and checking the pitches as we tune. So we go slowly, using that as an opportunity to check the pitch as we go, so that we don't go way above the pitch and put undue tension on the strings and then suddenly have the strings pop. We want to avoid that. So again, instrument here against myself, right hand on the A string peg, and then I've got my thumb here over the A string, and I start plucking. Now this sounds like it's getting closer, so then I want to go in with the bow. So I'm a little higher than I was before, but I still have some distance to make it higher. Now if you see, I also take my second finger here so that I can once again apply pressure to the peg with my thumb and my index finger here. And now I've got a pitch that I like. So next I'm going to go to the D. Let's hear that. That is flat, very flat. That is flat. It's very flat, about 40 cents, so I definitely want to use the peg here. So once again, I've got the peg between my thumb and my index finger, and I'm going to press in and turn away. Actually, that tiny little turn away from me was enough to move the string into the correct pitch. So I can check that fifth now, it's in tune. And my G is in tune. And I'm going to just check one more time my strings one by one to make sure they are in tune. Just a tiny bit flat. I'm going to move that up to the right just a little bit. Good. Great. So now my instrument is tuned. I had to use the fine tuner, the one that I have, and two of the... And now my instrument is in tune. I also want to talk about where the pitch is. We have options when we tune. We don't necessarily all tune to the same A in every corner of the world that plays violins and violas, that plays these instruments. Generally between 440 hertz to 442. If you live in the US, I would recommend tuning to 440. Most ensembles, most folks are tuning their A to a 440. So then in that case, you'd want to make sure that your tuner is set to 440 for the A. If you don't live in the US, if you live perhaps in Europe or in Northern Europe, then consider tuning to 441 or 442. I live in Scandinavia, so many ensembles use an A at 441 or 442. I've even heard some that are higher, so things can get quite sharp here. So I, as a rule, tune to 441. Most of the ensembles that I play with stick to that A. So that keeps my instrument used to being under that exact amount of tension. So know where your A should be. Do some research if you're not sure for your area where the A should be. Check and see what your local orchestra tunes to. They often have that information on their website, believe it or not. And if you can't find it, you can always ask someone. But if you are really unsure, then try 440 or 441. These are two very universal A's. So this process is something that will get easier over time, but just make sure to go slow. Take your time, check the pitches as you're tuning. Don't tune, then check later. Check as you are going. Play either with the bow or with your thumb. Playing pizzicato with your thumb. Well, very happy practicing to you all. Thanks for tuning in and make sure to subscribe before you go.